We'll just jump right into the review of Dead Winter by C.L. Werner. This is the first book of the Black Plague trilogy. It has a couple extra novellas towards the end, but I call it a trilogy because that's what it seems like. So, Dead Winter, my first delve into Warhammer and the Age of Sigmar era, not the 40k, but this is the fantasy version of it, and I will just straight up say I'm a big fan. Truthfully, I'm a big fan of the Skaven. That's what led me to the Black Plague trilogy. I got the big omnibus version that's really nice, really well done, really well put together. And Dead Winter is the first book of that, so I'm going to review that. And to give some insight and maybe some interest for those who are looking at it. It'll be spoiler free, won't ruin anything if you want to, because honestly one of the best things I've loved about this is that I know nothing. Well, now I don't. I know some more, but I knew nothing about Warhammer or the story that was in it. And just starting with this, I thought it was a plenty good starting time. C.L. Werner has put in enough background information that I understand the Empire and what's going on in the world of humans and dwarfs and the relations between and the Skaven. And there's a little bit of reading you had to do to really get into it and understand, but it's done well, and I definitely understood and am continuing on with the series. So, Dead Winter. Story told through several competing lenses. I don't want to say competing, but view different lenses and different characters, which I like. I like the way the story's told where you're following 4 or 5 separate storylines that are intermingled in the grand scheme, but do not directly cross paths, or sometimes do. You follow the Emperor and his henchmen / counterpart, which causes unrest in the Empire. You follow the Skaven. That was my biggest interest. You follow a priest of Moor out in Sylvania. And I'll tell you, one of the parts I really liked about this book and what really got me towards the end too was when you have different storylines like this, you usually pick, oh, this is my favorite storyline, this is my favorite, and you come to the one that's not your favorite, and it's like, okay, well, I got to get through this section because I know some more Skavens coming up, and that'll be fun. And then it does a whole twist where the storyline I thought was one of the more boring, I just had little interest in, at the very end became the biggest plot twist, and now I'm very invested in that character. I want to see what keeps happening. It was the whole way up. I was like, oh, yeah, see how this goes. Also, big fan of the reality of this book. I guess it would likely be classified as grimdark in a good number of ways, especially with the plague. But the reality of how it portrays the plague, and while this is the Black Plague that we know of in our world, it obviously has a little bit different involving the Skaven, but the brutality is still there, and like characters die. Main characters, side characters, won't tell you which ones, but it gives a reality to the world that I like and makes the reading progression, it keeps the reader invested. Not much more to say on Dead Winter, spoiler free, but my point is, if you know Warhammer or haven't read it yet, I'd say definitely jump into it. If you like the Skaven, this is definitely a main one because it really focuses on the Skaven under Empire and their interclass warfare, as well as their push against humanity with the Black Plague. That's what really attracted me, and so if you are interested in the Skaven, this is definitely one of the ones to go to. Jumping now into the spoiler section, so here's a spoiler warning. If you don't want it, leave now, but I definitely need to talk about it just to have the interest because so much goes on. So, starting with, I'm just going to jump right into the biggest switches at the end and the turnovers. So, Puskav Falfer, at the very end, you're going the whole way with Clan Verms being the friend and looking to upseat his master, and then at the end switching on him, and going to the duel and the battle at the end. I was not ready for that. That was one of those great, one sentence, you're reading along and everything's going normal. You're like, okay, this is about to happen. And he calls him out. I was like, wow. I enjoyed that, definitely. And then the fight at the top was really good. Though I'll admit, it kind of saw how that one was going to go, but still the shock and the change leading up to it definitely made it worth it. And I love the growth I got through the Skaven. And as in growth, I mean the exploration of their world, the understanding of the clan battles, and how this clan doesn't like this clan, and which ones get along, and how they're all scheming against each other at all times. It's interesting to watch, and it's interesting to see, but it's fun. I still like the Skaven after this too. Jumping over to Nuln too. That was the storyline I wasn't that interested in at the most of the time. Same with also Van Hall out in Sylvania. But Nuln was kind of, just pedaling along. Okay, you got the rat, this and that. If you read it, But then at the very end, the big switch, I still don't even understand fully how that's connected, because I believe the Skaven are their own race, not that you can mutate into one of them, but the sheriff, the way his hand was described to me, it seemed like almost like he was part Skaven, or they were starting to change him. He's definitely working with them, but, that's a question I still have. If maybe someone else understood it better, drop it in the comments, let me know. But that was a huge shock to me, and great. And then, again, someone I thought was the main character, he was the main character of his own story, just gone. He's gone. He's not coming back. Watch that. He come back in, book 3, and I'm all red in the face. But we'll see. And then same with Van Hall. I did not really care for the whole time when he was still just the priest of Moor, and it seems I'm not a big fan of whiny and complainy characters, and that's kind of what he was. Preachy, ironically being a preacher, but that sort of mentality. And then at the end, he just went for it off the deep end with the necromancy. But then also, I'm liking what I've seen. He's embraced the necromancy. It's not just, I did this and now he's going to backtrack like I really thought he was going to. He's embracing just is the necromancer now, and I like that. So now it's one of my biggest invested story arcs. I want to see where he goes and what happens to him as the necromancer and the power he grows. So, and then Adolf Kursig. I have some trouble with those names. Interesting. It seems like I can really tell that's the main story. I don't want to say main story, but one of the longer arcs with him and Emperor Boris. Definitely going to be progressing through, and that even though the coup was failed, it's clearly not the end of the story there. See how that grows and progresses. So I'm excited for that one. Not too much to go there. I mean, they planned the coup. It didn't go well. Stuff fell apart. Not too surprised, because I'll admit I know it's a trilogy. Can't have that much resolved in the first book, but I'm very happy with the twists and turns I've already seen. So, again, if you're listening to this, you got some spoilers. I still recommend reading it. It's told very well. Very happy with the storytelling. Very smooth. Like I said, someone who has no idea, this is the first Warhammer I've picked up because I was interested by the Skaven, and the author gives it to me in such a way that I can easily understand and have learned a lot about the world and feel invested in it now. So for me, that's a trademark of a good book.